And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul Durienzo, your host, and we have another great show in store for you. My guest, Tsaurah Litzky. Welcome. Glad I finally got you on. I've wanted to have you on for such a long time. You're a wonderful reader, a wonderful writer, of course, and poet. And we're looking at your book, a memoir, Flasher.
My most recent book.
Your most recent book.
My most recent book, yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to too overly characterize your work. I mean, I just love the way that you were able to capture, am I right saying, an erotic moment or a feeling, a deep feeling in your writing. And that's why one of the reasons I asked you on the show, because I wanted to really give our listeners and watchers or viewers a chance to experience that. And so, I don't know, where should I begin by asking you the question of what led you to write this book?
Well, this book, I'm not supposed to look at the camera, right?
Well, you can if you
okay.
want.
Well, this book, I didn't make a conscious decision to write this book. I didn't say, okay, I'm going to write a memoir. From 1993 to 98, I worked for the now sadly defunct newspaper downtown, and at first 6 months I was a bi-monthly columnist, and then the last 4.5 years I was a weekly columnist. In that time there were over 200 columns written, and then the paper was sold to a music company of some sort, and we were all fired. I had this body of work, and I knew that from the perhaps close to 200 columns, there was a story there. And it was an important story. And it wasn't just my story. It was a story of the time I was living in. It was a story of the people around me. It was a story of my family, my friends. It was stories about hope and disappointment and the New York poetry and art scene in the early 90s, you know, and so I weeded through the different columns, and I picked out 42, and I formed them into a book, which I then wrote, you know, and that's this book. I don't know which angle the camera.
No, you're looking right there. That's your camera right there.
That's my camera. Okay, everyone, this is my book, Flasher, a memoir, and I am actually proud of it.
And you can hold it up again so folks can see the cover. There you go.
But
There you go.
Lower
it. There you go. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
All
right.
I'm proud of this book because I don't pull any punches, and everyone who hears it and buys it seems to love it. And I'm going to read you one of the wonderful blurbs on the back. And this is a blurb written by Ron Colm, who is a famous downtown poet and the oversoul of this group, the Unbearables, of which I am a member. I'm certainly not the most unbearable, but I am unbearable enough to be in the group. And this is what he says. I think the Greeks got it right when they posited a precarious balance between life, eros, and death, thanatos. With so much crap being dumped daily on that side of the scale, it's vital to create life-affirming work to keep everything from being totally erased. Flasher, Tsaurah Litzky's collection of stories does that. She not only gets the eros right, she transcends the worldly altogether on her path to the spiritual, taking us along with her on a wild ride. Highly recommended. And I'll read one more blurb. This is a blurb I got from the great Thule Kufferberg when in 2004 I wrote another memoir called The Motion of the Ocean. I published it with Simon & Schuster as part of Three the Hard Way, edited by Susie Bright, the famous erotica maven. But it was a memoir through and through. And so Thule, who some of you may know of, he was co-founder of the Fugs and author of Teach Yourself Fucking, said this: the only porn I ever read is Tsaurah Litzky's. It has the necessary je ne sais twat.
That's something like he would say, right? That sounds like Thule.
Yeah, I wish he was still alive. I mean,
yes.
I also feel that, you know, when people go, they don't leave. they're still with you in your heart. So, you know, and they're with you. And some people have greater influence and influence on many. And the people that I think of who do this, who have this influence, who are gone, are always people who didn't pretend. They were people who they were just totally themselves, take it or leave it, you know.
Yeah, who they are, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they were also generous. They were generous with their time because they know how precious time is.
Most precious thing, right?
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about give us an overview of what the memoirs cover?
Yeah, absolutely. The book starts in 1983. The first, about like third of the book, is about the Lower East Side art scene. At that time, there were the slam poetry was very, very popular. People, I mean, I could read a story from that, but I'm keeping to the, people were banding together and reading all over the place. Friendships were formed on the basis sometimes of utility, but still, okay, more than occasionally on the basis of the feelings of the heart. So it was kind of a pure time.
Yeah.
It was a time, it was way before Trump and all of this, you know, and we believed that poetry could save the world. I no longer believe that.
Oh, that's too bad.
No, I believe maybe maybe somehow the world would get saved, but it's going to take more than poetry.
It will.
I mean, not that poetry is less. It will take more than...
It'll have a role, poetry. I mean, it'll have a role.
Yeah, but it's so... The danger is so great and so immediate, and there's so much illusion created in part by people's addiction to the cell phone, to the TV, to compulsive shopping, to needs. I mean, not that I don't have a cell phone and I don't like the TV, but I'm certainly addicted to many things that I need, and it's a constant struggle. And you know, for all of us, because like, what the fuck is happening, and what can we do about it? So anyhow, so I wrote this book, and my big regret is that I didn't go with a publisher who could really promote it.
Autonomy Media. Well, it led you here to this program, so we'll do our best.
Yes, it led me here, and I've been giving many readings. And so anyhow, so the first third of the book is just about all the stuff that happened, the people that I met. Then, at a New Year's Day night reading, New Year's Day night party, after a certain reading, St. Mark's Church, which many of you have heard of, gave a yearly marathon reading.
Yeah.
One of the downtown poets, Bruce Weber, I hope he sees this, he had this idea, what about an alternative reading for all the poets who aren't invited to St. Mark's? I had been invited to St. Mark's, but he invited me to the alternative, and I was very happy to be there, and I was with my friend Ursula, a dear friend who is a artist who makes stuff out of natural objects like shells and leaves, and she has quite a famous career and well-deserved. Anyhow, so I was there with her. My reading went fantastic, and however, in the middle of it, right after it, comes in this woman, Dangerous Diane, with another woman named Bonnie Finberg, and they proceed to make out. Dangerous in front of me. Diane had just kind of stolen my boyfriend, and I didn't think it was very tactful of her or considerate, and I would never do something like that to her. Now, ordinarily, I would have wanted to stay there and hear all the other readers, but Ursula had been invited to a housewarming party in Williamsburg, and she said, okay, I'll go by myself, you're having a good time. I said, no, I'll go with you. When I got there, I met this guy. He was a sculptor in fetishwear, in leather and steel, and he made fetishwear. And to make this long story shorter, we started to date, we fell in love, and we married. And the middle part of the book is about courtship. It's about answering the questions, can there be such a thing as free love? It's about what it means to try to make it through, particularly if neither party is young anymore or has certain illusions anymore. And this part of the book also, my family enters. They were delighted that I got married. They lived in Maryland, and again, and my mother had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So then the book just changes again, because it becomes a story of like, here's this family, and they're trying to deal with the marriage of their prodigal daughter. At the same time, my mom, a beautiful, distinguished, dignified woman, is changing into a creature that rarely we couldn't even recognize. So that is part of the book, because so many people are dealing with this kind of stuff. So okay, so that's and my friends are in it, and certain characters from the downtown scene are in it. There is he's dead now, famous person known as my IV drug-using would-be lover. At the end of the book, it's revealed who this famous person was, and you can buy the book and find out.
Right.
And
are you ready to read us a segment of it? Because now I'm dying to hear it.
Okay, I have one more thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I will read the segment. And the last third is about what happened after the breakup, what happened to me, and how I found my way, how I negotiated transits, because that's what you got to keep doing in life, how I negotiated transits from the negative to the positive and found a new way. And the story that I'm going to read you is from the third part of the book. And after my marriage broke up, I sold some more stories. It was, at that time, it was profitable to write erotic stories, but now the web is crowded with them, and you get $25 for a story you spend 40 hours on. So, it's hard to do it. But at that time, I mean, I was in Best American Erotica series 8 times, more than any other writer. But it doesn't buy me sake. Okay, anyhow, so this story, Amsterdam, is, I had come into some money from my writing, and I decided to try to escape, and I went to Amsterdam, and it was the first day. I always wanted to go there, and the story is called Amsterdam. It opens with a quote from Benedict Spinoza. You have to let me know when I have 5 more minutes left.
Okay.
And the quote is, "Desire is the essence of life." It's my first day in Amsterdam. I check into Hotel Winston on Warmoestraat, downtown on the edge of the red light district. The only decoration in my room is a large, very large photograph hanging above the bed, a picture of 2 fat, hairy, gray pigs in black leather harnesses. What a welcome. I tell myself I will get used to the pigs, but I am not convinced. However, I did not come to Amsterdam to stay in my room and look at an ugly picture. I came to Amsterdam to get stoned, very stoned, so stoned I could grow wings on my feet and believe I will be forever young. I need to find one of those infamous cafes where I can smoke pot and hash legally all day long if I want to. A guidebook and Dutch guilders are already in my bag. I sling it across my shoulder, and I'm down the stairs, out the door, onto the street. I take a left past a couple of stores, Das Skinny, a tattoo parlor, and Spinoza chocolates, both closed. Then I find what I am looking for, All Blessings Cafe, the name flashing on and off in the window in green neon, below a big green marijuana leaf. It, thankfully, is open, and even at this early morning hour, the table, 3/4 of the tables are occupied. A pungent smell I am quite familiar with perfumes the air. The owner introduces himself as Benedict. I choose Thai choice stick from the 20 or so offerings on the menu. He rolls a couple of J's with filters and puts them in a plastic bag so stuffed with grass it would cost me $80 back in New York. He charges me 1 guilder, which translates to roughly $4. He invites me to enjoy a complimentary cup of their Shangri-La tea, gives me a pack of matches, seats me at a table in front of the room. I light up, and as I smoke, all the tension I carry inside me melts away. The buzz of conversation in the cafe sounds like leaves humming in a tree. Nothing is weighing me down. For the first time in months, I feel free, lighter than air. I am helium floating up through the roof into the sky. I am floating high, so high. I am in the Bangkok mountains, a lush jungle surrounding me. A steep, mossy path opens at my feet. I climb up, 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 through the sparkling air to the highest mountain peak. I look out past worlds of flowering valleys to an endless purple sea. I don't know how long I float there. I feel a hand on my shoulder, open my eyes. Benedict asks, "Are you okay? Dreaming sweet dreams? Can I get you more tea?" I say yes to the sweet dreams, no to the tea. The bright sun streaming through the window beckons me. I want to be walking Amsterdam streets. I thank Benedict for his concern and leave. I'm going to edit this here. Just say, I'm wandering around, passing souvenir stores, art galleries. A man in overalls propositions me. I run away. In my guidebook, I read about a flea market, the oldest one in Amsterdam. Try to find it, get lost, very lost, and then, now back to the story. In the middle of a block of ramshackle houses, I find a narrow storefront. The sign on the door says bar. Below it, in smaller letters, it says, Amstel, Heineken, sake. Sake is my favorite drink. The bar is filled with men, all talking so loudly they could be arguing. I don't see another woman in the place. Over the din, I hear a bird of flax sing, killing me softly with his song. I need a drink badly. I force myself to look straight ahead, push toward the back where there's an empty seat at the end of the table. I take it. A man is working at a table by the wall, probably the owner. The bartender comes over. I order a hot sake. He used to fix it, and then it happens. In an instant, I am surrounded by men on all sides, men like locusts descending. They bombard me with questions. Am I lost? Am I looking for my husband? Is that a Jewish nose I have? The Dutch are incredibly anti-Semitic. That's another story. Do I like to go round the world? One of them grabs my arm. How much, he shouts in my face. Suddenly a big hand whizzes past my ear, smacks the jerk across the nose with such force the jerk staggers back, falls. Standing behind me is the man who was working at the table. He speaks a few words softly in Dutch, and the locusts scurry quickly away. Such rudeness, no courtesy, the man says, shaking his head. They're animals. A lady should be able to come into a bar in Amsterdam and enjoy a drink. He introduces himself, asks my name. I tell him, asks if he owns the bar. He says no, he's the accountant. Then asks, may I join you? How can I refuse? My gallant defender. He orders a sake from the bartender, asks him to put my drink on his tab. I know very soon he's a smart man because he doesn't ask me any stupid questions like, why are you here alone? Instead, he tells me funny stories about Amsterdam politics and the popular rumors that the current mayor is a transvestite. 4 sakes later, he says, it will give me a great pleasure if you have dinner with me tomorrow evening. I accept. This is how I met Jan. He's overweight with a chubby face. His fingernails are stained with ink. He dresses in a blue tracksuit. I hate tracksuits. Later I'll learn that plus a jeans jacket, tracksuits comprise his daily uniform. He's also a chain smoker, lighting his new cigarette off the old one. Smoking is a habit I detest even more than I hate tracksuits, but I am enjoying his company. The next night, Jan picks me up outside the Winston, promptly my hotel, at 8. We go to an Indonesian restaurant a few blocks away, another account of his, so I can sample the famous Richtafel. I won't describe our whole conversation. I will say he brought along a bottle of sake for us to drink. Only when it's empty does he ask, do you have someone back in America? I told him I was married but separated. Is there any romance in your life, I want to know? Only with my son, he says. He's 7. My wife and I are divorced. I'm fighting now for custody. We talk about my writing, then his love of music. Music is my passion, he says, and I am wild for your American jazz, your rhythm and blues, your gospel songs, but I hate Bob Dylan. He can't sing. He sounds like he is dead. Once this would have been the ultimate deal breaker, but I already like him so much I don't care. To make the story a little shorter, he comes back to my room with me. As we walk down the block toward the Winston, Jan kisses me on my neck, my ear, my cheek. "What do you say?" he said. "Are you feeling good?" Yes, yes, I say. When we get back to my room and Jan sees the picture over my bed, he laughs. "Not so encouraging," I say. "It's funny, silly. They gave you the pig room, the least popular room in the hotel. I could have it changed if you want." I don't know, maybe, I stutter. I'm thinking about something else. How scared I am. Anyhow, we do not need encouragement, Jan says, and opens his arms to me. I just stand there like an idiot. I have not been with anyone except Stephen, that was my ex's name, in so long. How could I even remember the moves? Jan sensed my anxiety. He didn't get all macho or attempt to overpower me. Instead, he sat down on the bed. "Come, give us a kiss," he said. "Show me how you like to be kissed." I approached shyly and sat on his lap. I brushed my mouth against his. I licked his lips. I kissed him, at first soft, then harder, harder. He kissed me back, put his arms around me, pulling me so close I could feel the beat of his heart. I grew bolder, pushing my tongue into his mouth, in and out, fucking him with that. He liked that. I could feel his appreciation grow against my legs. He lifted me off his lap, put me down flat on the bed, and peeled off my clothes. Then he stripped and stood naked before me. I'd never seen such a corpulent man. His pendulous belly hung down to just above his crotch, revealing his magnificent erection. He used it to tap my breasts. Then he bent his head and started to suck them. He took his time, first one, then the other. How did he know having my tits sucked drives me wild? Maybe he was the great god Pan.
Oh, this page here on the ground?
There we got it. Maybe he was a great god Pan. His big belly holding all the sex secrets of the centuries. I wanted him inside me. I could barely get my hand around his splendid cock, but I managed to guide him into my heart of hearts. He was very sensitive, so practiced. He made me come again and again, until finally he pulled out and shot between my breasts. He rubbed his sweet, sweet cream all over my skin like a love potion. I'm going to stop there. If you want to find out what happened next, how and if Jan became a part of my life, and if you want to find about all my other adventures until I negotiated the transit of loneliness to love and work, get the book.
Right. And where can people get the book?
Well,
let's hold up the cover again, I guess, for folks to see it.
On Amazon.
Amazon, great place. So it's called Flasher, a Memoir. Go ahead.
By Tsaurah Litzky.
Right. Beautiful. And that was a wonderful, wonderful thing. That's typical of your beautiful reading that, and your writing.
I chose something that would be sexy. I thought it would be it would be good,
Oh, it was. It was very hot. It was, the room is vibrating. It's very warm in here all of a sudden under my shirt. That was very hot. Very hot.
Well, I didn't want to read about how my father and I cried together about my mother, and I didn't want to read
other aspects of your life.
Yeah, at the same time, I didn't want to read about Stephen wanted us to get back together again, though he didn't treat me well, and I left for good reasons, and I didn't read about a couple of the gallery openings he was also of his that I went to, and they were pretty funny. It was describing the art scene.
Yeah. In New York, in that era.
But I could say how the book ends.
Anything you want.
Well, I will. Just to give a hint, I was drinking too much, and when we were together, he really objected to me working on weekends. Aside from writing for downtown, I had a flea market business. It was very lucrative, and I loved because I like to talk, as you can tell.
Sure.
And in an attempt to save our marriage, I applied for a teaching job at a local university, but I didn't hear anything. Well, if you read the book, you find out what happened when I heard when I got a good answer. That's about it.
Excellent. Great. Wow. Tsaurah Litzky. And are you reading anytime soon? Because I've seen you read at the Sidewalk Cafe in different places. So you have anything coming up?
On the 26th of September, I'm reading at the Sunday afternoon Great Weather for Media reading. I'm also a poet. I'm one of the two featured poets.
Right.
And I'll be reading probably from qoddess, my poems about yoga book, which has recently been re-released. So if you come, Great Weather for Media, just Google it to find out the location.
Great Weather for Media. That's pretty well known, and you can just Google it, as Tsaurah said. And so, any other books or anything else you're working on in the last minute or two we have here?
Well,
tell us about?
Yeah, I'm working on. I've had two major poetry collections: Baby on the Water, published 2004, and Cleaning the Duck, published by Bowery Books. Baby on the Water was published by Longshot. Cleaning the Duck, published by Bowery Books in 2011. So now I'm working on a third major poetry collection. And I live in what is disgustingly called Dumbo. This year it's 50 years I live in that neighborhood, which was once a great, flourishing, real seaport. And I'm working on a book about what it was like the first year I came to that neighborhood.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
What it was really like, so people who are coming now and don't see anything of
in those days,
real
you could
New York.
do business with a handshake.
Yeah.
The mafia ran the whole neighborhood. How I got there,
Yeah.
they didn't accept me at first. They didn't want me in the building. I had a friend sold me their apartment. They used to have this thing where you had key money, and
Yeah.
and when they found that I was there, they were furious. And my friend, who was Filipino, he was leaving to go to Germany to live with his lover, and he said, "Oh, just tell them that you're my sister." So I said, "I am Franklin's sister," and and John Bull, the head mafioso, said, "You are shitting me, little woman. You are shitting me." And they did everything they could to get me to leave. But then something happened, which I won't tell you about on air. I won't tell you about. You have to get that book.
Right. Well, we don't have enough time. We're down to the last 10 seconds of the show.
And they finally accepted me. I think perseverance is a key. I will leave you with saying that perseverance is one of the keys to joy in life.
Thank you very much, Tsaurah Litzky, for joining us on Let Them Talk, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you for having me.
It was great.